Right now I'm stopping, obviously, to test materials, to pull out different types of materials to hold the contrast and the abstract composition. See, right now I'm working on establishing the contrast or developing the contrast by using that large black form. I'm also putting it off, starting it off on the left side to weight it. As most of you know, to put your heaviest weight on the right side would throw the image off balance because the lower right hand corner is the heaviest. So I'm establishing the weight and developing the abstract composition at this point, and then we'll let it respond to the organic forms and vice versa. chance or an opportunity to talk to you about each of these phases as we look through the video at the museum together. I want to step in now and tell you a little bit about what I'm observing happening in the composition and the process, and we can talk a little bit here in the video about the process. I also want to first preface this with the idea that while I'm drawing, I'm often drawing very intuitively, and through the process I'm relating the organic forms to the abstract forms. And then it's when I step back that I intellectually think about the composition, or I think about how it is or isn't working. But while I'm actually drawing, it's usually very intuitive, and then the process of questioning and answering comes as I step back. And so at this point, you've seen me moving around the abstract forms, finding a location to make the piece a resolved abstract image, or feel like it's a resolved abstract image. And then I start to have this dialogue between the representational or referential and the abstract forms. What I want to say now is that as I've been working, I draw for a while, I step back, you've seen me videotape it, and then step back. But right now, at this point, I'm starting to observe the structuring element that seems to be happening in the relationship of the grid that I originally started with and the abstract forms, and how the diagonal grid seems to be occurring, and so forth, and my implied lines. So let me just walk through and point to a few things for you. You can actually see in the original abstract form that I've created a series of horizontal grids and then a series of vertical lines that line up with each other. And you can also see that this line lines up with that gray up there, and so forth. There's a beginning and an ending, and then you can pick up subtly on some of the lines in the organic forms that have created an applied line as a horizontal. So you have this large grid horizontal, and actually a fairly detailed implied one. This is obviously an implied line that goes along here, and I'm now beginning to think I'm going to extend it over here. But also I'm starting to create, as I'm doing the organic form, creating this kind of enveloping shape. I'm also noticing that it's really important that I continue my diagonals and my counter diagonals. And this diagonal started through the print down here, down to the diagonal here in the abstract form, and now I'm picking up in the organic form the continuation of that diagonal cutting through. And then, let's see if I can see it, you start seeing counter diagonals, which means almost a perpendicular to the other diagonals. You see the counter diagonals working their way through, touching certain points, maybe touching that point with another point, and you've got this diagonally organic form, this one cutting through and hitting here and here, this line lining up with this line and part of this line and reaching down to the bottom. So you also see a crisscrossing effect. And I'm starting to notice that, and if it's not actually in the right angle to be a perpendicular, I might at this point shift it a little bit. You know, come to consciousness out of my intuitive state and start making it conscious. Also the sense that this theme coming through this bubble or whatever it is positioned at the same counter diagonal as this diagonal. And I could go through and probably point out more, but I want you to do that as you watch it happening. And I actually, you saw earlier in the film, I changed these diagonals several times because I wanted it to continue that grid pattern. So there's a lot of crosses, horizontally, vertically, diagonal and counter-diagonal, starting to occur. And I'm going to keep pushing that, but then I will go back in now and draw really intuitively and try to sort of lose myself in the process of relating to the abstract forms, but I'm also relating to the grid, which is now pre-existing. So I just want to let you know that so you can see it now and watch as we go through it. Maybe I'll stop and talk a little bit later, but I want you to at least pick up on that at this point. Thanks.